During the pandemic, I think there are a lot of challenges in people, according to the NHS ambitious plan and also the trust target. NHS England expect that everyone or anybody referred to the memory clinic should be assessed within 6 weeks of referral. That is 85%. However, the trust says that 95% of those referred to the memory clinic should be seen within 6 weeks and then assessed within 8 weeks of referral. However, because of the pandemic and other issues, we had a backlog of cases that were waiting for 6 months or longer. So the plan was actually how, or the target was how are we going to increase the number of those waiting to the expected, towards expected level of people being seen within 6 weeks and diagnosed within 18 weeks. So when we started in January, there were 80 people around, November last year, there were 80 people waiting to be seen, that apart from those that were actually booked to be seen. So the target was that by March this year, we should reduce that figure to 14. However, as the case was going and as the pandemic was actually decreasing and people were getting more exposed, we're having more referrals that were now expected and more referrals that we're even able to actually deal with. So by February we had, or by January we have already had about 125 individuals waiting for assessment from 80. By the time we go to the end of February, I got 153 or 156 people waiting. So the number was increasing. So going back to the NHS England target and also the trust target, we decided to apply QI principles, that is the patient flow, and brought some changes. One of the areas we actually looked at, where we look at it from the referral to up to the time we can discharge people. So we look at how are we going to manage the referral, that is the point. How are we going to manage the assessment itself? How are we going to manage treating people in terms of, because when people are diagnosed, sometimes we also do what is called drug titration when they are put on medication. Then how are we going to deal with post-diagnostic support, including feedback and other areas? So we had to now look back and say, okay, this is what we are going to do. And as we are going along, we brought some changes. If we look at the referrals, for example, we thought about creating inclusion and exclusion criteria and share that with all the referral sources, because not only the figures I have mentioned, the 156 or 155, that figure is the actual figure of referral that we're accepting. It doesn't include the overall number of referrals that we are getting at all. In fact, what was more frustrating is that we were having a lot of inappropriate referrals, and screening and processing those referrals, writing back to the GPs for each and every referral decline was also time consuming. So that is why we created inclusion and exclusion criteria. We are still testing that whether it's working or not. Then the other challenge that we, along the line with assessment area, for example, was that we found out that some people, older adult particularly, they are dependent on their family members for support in terms of bringing them for assessment or assessing them at home because they said they work. So some of them were telling us, oh, they can only be available weekends. So we brought a change idea. What if we create a clinic for Saturday, for example, to assess people so that we will be able to meet those people's needs? So there are a lot of challenges, really, as I mentioned, in terms of older adults. If you look at transformation, sometimes you can book an appointment. Either some of them they don't read or write, or some of them have sent a letter for an appointment. Maybe the family member have taken them to another borough, or some of them you can find out that, oh, they have been admitted before even we could see them, or a lot of things had happened. So we decided to take most of these things into consideration, and as we are going along, we are bringing in some changes. There are also people who can book, and because of one or two reasons, they will continuously cancel appointment. So how are we going to manage those people who continuously manage appointment or who don't show or DNA appointment? So we brought some changes there as well. Maybe we can make 2 contacts. Then we can make a face-to-face home visit on announced visit to check, not only to make to see whether the person there, but we are also doing welfare check, because during the pandemic we also learned from some of the changes. There are a lot of safeguarding issues that came up that we are able to pick up. So we decided that not only to just say, okay, this person didn't come, therefore we have to actually discharge them from our service. So we are going there to actually check, and we'll be able to successfully do that, meet them at home, do the assess them there. In fact, by doing that, we realize that the mobility of some of the people were poor. They were not even able to get out of their houses. Some of them few of them were bedbound and all that. And also we were dealing with care homes wherein but before this, the people could be seen, they have actually transferred them to care home because of their health and also social care needs. So in short, we have brought in a lot of changes. We have reduced from 150 something. Now we have about, how can I say, about 53 people waiting, as I say today, for my report. This is just a report today. So I can say that from yesterday, maybe we might have gone down by 2 or 3, because those that were assessed yesterday or seen yesterday, definitely I will not be able to get the data today. So in terms of looking at the 6 weeks, I can now say we are just within the 18 weeks at present, but the overall aim could be maybe if we could see and assess people within 6 weeks of referral. That is an ambitious target, because we also have other challenges. One, things like scans, MRI and CT scan, for example, and other tests that we don't have control over. We make referrals. They also have their backlog. So this is actually impacting on our service as well, and which we don't have control over. So these are the things that really we are trying to work on to see how we can overcome that. Maybe share with others, or others to share with us how effectively they are dealing with that. But as far as we are concerned, things have started moving in the right direction. Hopefully, we'll be able to meet our target. One, that people should be assessed within 6 weeks, or seen within 6 weeks, and then maybe reduce that waiting list to maybe to 30 or less than 30 even. So thank you.
Wow, there's so many changes that you've made, Sylvester. How do you know which ones led to an improvement?
To be honest, it's difficult to actually, for me, really, as a manager, I will not be able to actually say. But yeah, there's one thing I also, well, I will not be able to mention everything because it's just unaware something which I brought, or which is also working. I was talking about the admins, and if you look at the driver diagram I show in terms of staff also on duty and availability of appointment slot. So what I noticed that maybe referrals were waiting, or the assessors were waiting, or following up more people who were not attending appointment, while the others were actually phoning, oh, when is my dad going to be seen? When is my mom going to be seen? So looking at it, I just said, look, I told the admins that, look, all the assessors, where there were 3 of them, should declare when the times they are available. It doesn't depend on them when the appointment has to be booked. So just go through them and see who is free on that day. Go there and book the appointment and inform them. And that one also had made a difference. So we look at who is waiting, or who has been waiting for long, and actually try to allocate straight away. So I think that one also has made a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah. And what was it about the using QI methods that had an impact?
Why?
No. What was the impact of using QI methods?
Well, it has made a big impact. Really, it has made a big impact. And in fact, people, when I was talking about QI, although it's not something that actually has been common in the team, people are not aware. I don't know whether they have done from my own experience, because I know this team very well, there hasn't been any QI at all. So when I was mentioning about QI, people started saying, oh, he came, he just after figures. So I say it's not about figures, it's about patient care. And apart from that, even if it's figures, this is the only way that we'll know that we are performing. So like one of the doctors that had just come, the first thing she mentioned about, okay, where do you have any QI project, or what is your KPI report? How is it that then so when she started asking, we say, oh, another one has come. Then in fact, she has to talk to one of the staff and say, how do we know that we are performing if we don't have those data?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's why she also said, look, I'm going to get myself involved in QI project and see how we can move forward. But this has really made a big difference. Now people have actually understood where I'm coming from. In fact, one of the areas when there was a disagreement in the sense that people started protesting initially was when I said, okay, the admin should check everybody's availability and straight away book the appointment for those that are waiting. People didn't like that. They wanted things to be free. And also what we made some, we brought in some changes in terms of staff training. We are really training the staff. And what was happening in the memory clinic MDT meeting, everybody wasn't present. So people are present. I made everybody to be present in that meeting. Then, of course, one of the things that actually brought the difference also, as I was saying, our MDT discussion QI became a standing item. So every time the admins will produce this report where we are, what we are doing. And I will also check on that and say, okay, this is the direction we are going to take. Then I also did my own audit on daily basis. I will check who was seeing, why was this person not seeing, and whatever. Then I will go back and say, okay, if there are any challenges, let me know. Once there are challenges, I have to intervene myself. So that is what has made the difference. And now we are still continuing to grow and develop. We are still bringing new ideas. So even those that were actually protesting initially, they are now bringing ideas how things should go.